1. Every game store has its neckbeards. Our local game store is no exception. Puppybeard is the one that stands out. Puppybeard identified as a dog. Yep, a dog. Now, I love dogs, but Puppybeard, as much as he wants to be, is not even dog-like. He is a complete neckbeard, smells, has to be told to shower, wears a fedora, hates shoes, and actually gets down on the floor and rolls around with whatever mutt happens to come along. He always greets me with a, "Hello, m'lady," and my husband with, "Hi, sexy." He is mostly harmless, creepy, mind you, but mostly harmless. One day I was working at my desk when my husband came in the back door of our old storefront. Puppybeard was visiting, as a mutual friend was upstairs building GW40K figures. If you're not familiar with what that is, just think tiny war gaming pieces that have to be glued together and painted before you can even begin to play the game. It takes a lot of time and money, but very rewarding in the end. Puppybeard decided I was taking too long to build my figures. Dark Elder, for those that care. "I can build your figures for you while you work." No thank you. Just then my knight in shining armor screamed, "Puppybeard upstairs for treats." Once Puppybeard scrambled off, my husband asked if I was okay. I was breathing through my shirt, spraying air freshener, and relieved to have my floor puppy-free. "Can you get the pup to shower again? He's driving away the stinky people." Yes, he smelled so bad that the old hoarders who would come in to copy their bills in triplicate before they pay them, I don't ask, he outstank them. And I know they can't shower, as they can't get into their bathroom. Don't ask how I know this, and again, I don't ask. After treats, which is homemade people-grade dog treats, my husband eats them too. They're kind of like biscotti. My husband took Puppybeard to Wally World, and not so discreetly told him he stinks. He bought him a plethora of personal hygiene products and laundry soap. My husband then drove Puppybeard home and told him not to return to the store until he cleaned up. Would you believe he would really ask to build my figurines every time he saw me after that? Really annoying. Puppybeard was visiting Reno and Seattle Girl one day. Reno and Seattle Girl had dated on and off for a while, and finally tied the knot. Reno was a longtime fixture at the game store. Seattle Girl is a puzzle person, but not a gamer. Reno finally convinced Seattle Girl to build a figure, a Sisters of Battle for those that care. She had done an incredible job. Puppybeard builds and plays the same army, so she quite excitedly showed her figure to Puppybeard. Puppybeard held it, told her it looked really good, and then flicked it across the room, breaking it. She has never built another figure. It has been 2 years. Our other friend, Montana, had roomed with Puppybeard for a while. Now Montana is a neat freak, and Puppybeard is a hoarder in training. He comes by it naturally, as his parents tend that direction as well. Montana would clear his space, make his bed, and put things away. It drove him absolutely mad to come home and find his bed and desk covered with bits of discarded plastic known as sprues, and shavings of white metal and wood, and those were the clean days. More typically, Puppybeard would begin looking for something he misplaced and pile everything that was not what he was looking for on Montana's bed and desk. It would then sit there until Montana yelled at him to get it off. Sometimes at the point of a knife or with a pistol pointed in Puppybeard's general direction. Montana didn't trust Puppybeard. He had weapons and he knew how to use them. Puppybeard continued to make Montana's life a living nightmare until, one day, Puppybeard pushed him too far. Montana packed up his things and moved back home with his parents to restore what was left of his sanity. The beginning of the end, however, was when Puppybeard started making up stories that were obviously fabricated to make his life seem more interesting. As a millennial who has lived in the western shadow of the Tetons since he was 7, in his words, he had been a member of the mob, and was only allowed to walk away after having his toenails ripped out to prove he wouldn't squeal. He claimed to have worked for the FBI as an analyst. Note, mob and FBI, they do not like each other. He claimed to have worked as a sound guy in the porn industry. He claimed to have lived in a nudist colony. He claimed that he had been in the military. He claimed that he and his dad killed his brother-in-law and buried him in parts unknown, and that he wasn't afraid to kill again. He also had a YouTube channel in which all of his videos he did in a British accent, without using British verbiage. Then there were the drawings. At first, it was a harmless comic, but the characters were Montana, my husband and knight in shining armor, Puppybeard, and myself. The comic at first followed a D&D campaign that Montana and Puppybeard were playing. Then it morphed into a weird sort of mockery of real life. Then Montana's character and Puppybeard's character got married and had puppies. Then he drew my husband's character naked. My husband took this as a cry for help. He went and visited Puppybeard's parents. My husband told them of the tall tales and of the sketchbooks. Puppybeard was made to move home. He was put on some serious medication. His shrink was changed, his doctor was changed, and he now has an electroshock pulse mechanism surgically attached to his spine. Apparently his brain was sending mixed signals to the rest of his body. He felt a ton of pain and was on way too much pain medication, which kind of scrambled his brain. The electroshock thingy unscrambles the signal from his brain to the rest of his body. I hear he is doing much better now, but he still doesn't shower. 2. Background. I'm E, 24, femme, non-binary, and I'm pretty active in the kink, BDSM, whatever you want to call it, scene in my area. I'm a submissive, meaning that I'm usually on the receiving end of the bondage and kinky stuff, just in case anybody doesn't know. And as you might have guessed, on the other hand, a dom is the one performing the bondage and kinky stuff. A switch is someone who usually does both. So every month, the local kinksters get together at a bar to catch up. I want to make it known that no kinky stuff happens on these nights, no nudity or funky outfits to be seen. It's just a fun night of talking and shenanigans. We usually rent out a bar space for this, and the only other people there are the bar staff of that establishment, who usually just show up every 20+ minutes to serve drinks, and then make their way through to the back to chill. Whenever we see the bar staff coming, we usually make our conversations turn back to something more PG rated. The cast list for this is a bit long, so I shall do my best to describe people as they appear, so this doesn't get too boring. I usually show up to the catch-up pretty early, grab a cola, and sit in my favorite spot in the corner. I was minding my business and just chatting with a few people, when I decided to have a walk around and mingle a bit. I wander around and see my friend R, a really short and cute lesbian dom. She is incredibly sweet and can be very opinionated and does not take kindly to any kind of disrespect. I notice she is talking to someone I've never seen before. A tall and robust man who looks to be in his 30s and has a very scraggly beard and long greasy hair tied up in a ponytail. He was wearing a long black trench coat and some kind of anime shirt. As you can guess, this is the man of the hour. We shall call him Kinkbeard. As I get closer, I notice two things. R does not look happy, and there is an unholy smell coming from our dear Mr. Kinkbeard. An unholy mixture of body odor and maybe tomato ketchup, who knows? Still, not wanting to be rude, I put a polite smile on my face, greet R, and give her a big hug. Mistake number 1. Oh, wow. Where's my hug? He holds out his arms expectantly. Again, I've never seen this man before in my life. I glance at R, who is stiffened slightly, looking like she might pitch a fit. I giggle nervously and try to ease the tension a bit. Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm E. I've never seen you here before. Are you new to the scene? He lowers his arms. Hello, milady. Yes, he said that. I am Kinkbeard. I have been a dominant for over 15 years now. I am highly skilled in all aspects of domination. I rarely make my way to these kind of events because, well, I find most people in the scene to be extremely fake, to put it bluntly. Nobody in the scene seems to appreciate an alpha male when they see him. But I decided to come tonight to see what lovely specimens I would have the pleasure of
entertaining.
As he says the last sentence, he very slowly and obviously looks me up and down. Oh my. Upon hearing this lovely statement, I was torn between laughing my head off and running screaming out the door. The number of red flags this man has just displayed in the past minute is horrifying, to say the least. I have absolutely no idea what to say to this, as I both don't want to seem rude, and I also can't get him kicked out for just saying some kind of blanket statement like that. I had no idea what to do next. Sensing my discomfort, R pipes up next to me and grabs my hand and asks if I noticed N arrive. N is another friend of mine, very bubbly and cheeky, but she is a sub, not a dom. I say no, and R very firmly excuses us, and before he can respond, we disappear off to go find her. When we find her, we notice she is sitting with the event organizers, an older 40-ish male and female couple who are pretty intimidating, but sweet as hell when you actually speak to them. We mention what Kinkbeard said to us, and the male organizer barks out a laugh, especially about the alpha comment. He thanks us for letting him know and gets up to go meet the gentleman for himself. Something you should know about people in the kink lifestyle is everyone's pretty protective of each other, especially the doms over the subs. With that being said, R stayed next to me and N for most of the night, and went out of her way to steer us away from Kinkbeard if she saw him coming. And he tried to corner us a few times. At this time, he hasn't done anything except act pretty obnoxious to mostly everyone he's met, and misgendered my trans friend, not once, but twice. The organizers couldn't really do much about it, so they elected to just watch him just in case. About an hour and a half later, I find myself standing alone at the empty bar, where Kinkbeard sidles up next to me.
Hello, milady. Are you having a good evening? I noticed you looked rather bored earlier with your friends.
I have no idea where that came from. I was laughing so much earlier that cola came out of my nose. I don't really see that as boring. However, before I can respond, he drops this on me.
I know where we can have some real fun. You seem like someone who likes to be put in her place.
Cue him looking me up and down again, and I had to resist the urge to gag. At this point, I was entirely creeped out. Who the fuck says that to someone they've just met? I scoff, tell him to go fuck himself, and try and find R and N. In trying to find them, I decide not to tell them about what Kinkbeard said to me, as I didn't want to cause a scene. Also, I hate confrontation. I thought it was probably either the drink or just bad social skills. Mistake number 2. A while later, I run into D, an Amazon of a dom, 6'2", who I had been flirting with for a few weeks now, and while I wasn't ready to do anything yet, I decided to flirt a little more. We moved towards the back of the bar, next to where one of the guys had brought in various whips and kinky tools that he had made. He usually brings them in to show off because he sells them. They were sitting in a bag on the table, as we didn't want to give the bar guys a heart attack from leaving them out. If anyone wanted to have a look at them, they knew to be discreet about it. D and I were chilling, flirting, and laughing when I feel something brush past me. I figure it's just someone wanting to have a look in the bag, and don't worry about it. D turns around to put her glass down or something, and then... smack! Total silence. I'm just registering what I heard when I feel a very familiar stinging pain in my ass. I slowly, very slowly, turn to see Kinkbeard grinning down at me, brandishing a dragon's tail whip. Those things hurt, and the look on Kinkbeard's face made me feel like throwing fists at smug dick. I could feel my cheeks burning. Then the bar erupts into chaos and insults, being flung towards Kinkbeard. The male organizer and another male dom came thundering towards him, looking murderous. Something you should know about these two men is that they're both incredibly tall, with the organizer previously being a boxer and a bouncer, and the other dom is an army veteran. They're scary dudes. Real alpha males if there ever was a thing. I didn't see what happened next because D has started steering me away where a bunch of girls were sitting. I was in shock. I was just kind of standing there letting D maneuver me into a booth with R and N, and she went off to get me some water as everyone asked if I was alright. Honestly, you're going to say I'm a baby, but I actually started crying. I was so humiliated. I knew the whole scene wasn't my fault, but at the same time I knew I could have prevented it. It took me a good 20 minutes and a lot of hugs from my friends to get me to calm down. It was just so surreal. Later I was told that the boys had told Kinkbeard to get out and never come back. They bodily shoved him out of the bar and even followed him down the street to make sure he stayed away. Meanwhile, the female organizer explained the situation to the bar staff who had come from the back room because of the commotion. Apparently, Kinkbeard had tried defending himself by saying it was just a joke, and then said I had been asking for it all night. They weren't having any of it. An email was sent to every organizer in the area detailing what he had done, his first name and his physical description, knowing that not a single soul would let him into their event after this incident. The organizers asked if I wanted to call the police, but I decided against it. Honestly, I just wanted the night to be over and to go home, so that's what I did. To make a long story slightly shorter, nobody has seen or heard from Kinkbeard since. He just disappeared, really. Which I'm definitely okay with. 3. Hey everyone, it's the former pizza lady here with another story about our knight in greasy armor, Pizza Beard. So once again, it was a Saturday night, with a special discount on every pizza, so we were swamped with orders. When things calmed down for a moment, which never lasts long, I took advantage of the time to clean up the counter. Every employee has to clean up their workspace regularly, as it is a hygiene policy of the company. At some point, I am bending down in order to clean up things on the shelves under the counter, when Pizza Beard appears. I didn't notice someone walking in, as we don't have a bell or anything to signal that, so I was still moving things around in order to clean under the counter, when I heard an awfully familiar voice say, "Now that is a sight to behold." I have an audio-focused memory, so I can recognize voices I only heard for a minute or so days ago. I looked up and saw he was actually leaning over the counter in order to see as much as possible, and I could feel myself get mad already. Nonetheless, I summoned my customer service smile and got up asking, "Welcome, how may I help you?" Pizza Beard ordered 2 extra-large pizzas this time, probably once again just for him, and again added, "And something for you to take with you when you join me home in a few minutes." Now this is when the owner appears. Due to how slammed we were with orders, the owner of all 3 pizzerias had come over to help. He usually helps out in the bigger location. And he comes from behind the counter. He promptly asks me, "This the guy you told me about?" And I nod. The owner immediately turned towards Pizza Beard and said, "Look here, I've heard from every employee here by now how obnoxious you are, even calling my staff savages and whatnot. I don't want to hear any more of this type of bull or I will ban you." Now by this point I think Pizza Beard thinks the owner is only trying to intimidate him or something, so when the owner goes to make his pizzas and I return to cleaning my counter, he does it. He talks. "I know the only reason you're cleaning is because you're a woman and those savages here all believe women have to do all the cleaning. You really should consider my offer. I'll never let you have to clean. My parents have people to do that for us." Before I could even think of a reply, the owner was ready at the counter, standing behind me, and said, "Leave! Your order is cancelled, and you are no longer welcome in any of the 3 pizzerias I own in this city. I have your face in my memory and on our security cameras. You're going on the wall of shame." Yes, our owner has a wall of shame with pictures of people, usually from the security camera, which is pretty decent quality, who are banned from the stores, and each store has a copy to make sure they won't serve banned people. Pizza Beard fled, and I could almost hug my boss. 4. This incident happened while on my last day of working at Little Caesars. I worked there for 2 months, December 22nd, 2018 to February 23rd, 2019, and started off as a doughboy, making and forming pizza for pizzas and crazy bread and breadsticks and stuff. The big promotion for a doughboy was getting to work the make line, where you get to actually make pizzas. I worked with this girl, let's call her E, and she was short, athletic, honestly pretty cute, but I wasn't really interested or nothing. She was just a cool person to BS with whenever we were working, and she was a senior at a high school near mine while I was a junior. He and I got along pretty well and still maintain some contact to this day. Anyway, about a month and a half into working there, we get this new doughboy. Let's call him D. D was a heavy-set dude. I think he was like 22. He had some kind of anime tattoo and was always talking in weird accents and stuff. Anyway, it was my last day and a Saturday night, so we were relatively busy, but not wild. I began the night at the dough station, but someone had not shown up to work that day, so we were short-staffed on the make line. He approached D and I and asked if one of us can work make line with her. D really quickly answered that he wants to, and I was too quiet to say anything. So I went to the freezer to get some dough to work on. As I'm leaving the big metal walk-in freezer, he approaches me with his creeped out and scared look and asks, "Will you please work the make line with me?" And I could tell something was up and asked, "Yeah, why? What's up?" She tells me D is super weird, always right up on her and tells her weird things, including that he openly wondered, and I kid you not, what her pussy smelled like. I go, "What the fuck?" And I wanted to ask D what he was thinking, but he told me not to say anything. I am not a white knight, in fact I can't stand them. But she was my friend, and he had a foot and 200 pounds on her, and she was obviously really creeped out. I told him I'll cover make line, and things were going well. We were knocking out pizzas like crazy, and at one point we couldn't find something, so we went to the freezer together to look for it. We searched for a little bit, and found it, and started jokingly cheering and yelling and high-fiving and things like that. We leave the freezer, and I guess we were loud enough that the rest of the kitchen area could hear us. Some people laughed, but D looked at us both and said,
"Were you guys fucking in there or something?"
He tells me not to say anything, and I just say no. As we near the end of our shift, he and I are pretty close to each other on the make line, because we were getting the same ingredients for separate pizzas. D is bored and crams his way between her and I, and is breathing down her neck. I look at him and go, "I'm broke, can you back it up please, you're all up on us." And he shoots this mean-ass look and walks away. I left after that day and returned a few weeks later to pick up a pizza I ordered. I found out that D got fired because he said something like the pussy smell comment to our manager, who was a girl, and she wasn't having it and had already gotten complaints about him. No clue what happened to him, and it's too late at night to message E to find out what happened. 5. So this happened 5 years ago when I was starting my first semester of college. I was 17 at the time, and had gone to college straight out of high school because I didn't feel like taking a whole year off like most of my friends. Now, I'm a really short girl, 5 foot, like no joke, and I have a cute face where I looked 4 or 5 years younger than my actual age. I still get people thinking I'm 15 when right now I'm actually 22. So anyway, I chose to major in animation, thinking I was going to do it to make anime and whatever. But I had started to lose interest in anime once I graduated high school and got more into gaming. I've hung out with a lot of geeky-type people in high school and had my fair share of experiences with neckbeards. I'm a pretty aggressive person sometimes, so I can be pretty intimidating to people. So I didn't get the same problems that other people got with neckbeards. This time it was different. So because I was majoring in animation, I had to take a beginner's 2D animation class. My college's digital media room consisted of half of the room having Mac computers, and the other half having PCs. My class used the Mac computers. There were only about 3 or 4 girls in the class. It was mostly a sausage party in there, but I wasn't surprised. We didn't have assigned seating, so I just sat in the back right next to the door. This chubby guy who sat next to me kind of looked like one of my exes, but less hard-looking and more dopey. He didn't stink, thank goodness, and he had like a goatee, but some hairs had extended down his neck. If I remember, he was like 20 or 21 at the time. The guy didn't pay attention to me for the first 3 classes we had, but eventually, he started to talk to me one day when we were just having lab time to work on our projects. He was talking about some really old cartoons from the 80s like Gem and the Holograms and some other cartoons I don't remember he said, because I wasn't really listening. I can tell this guy was really nervous about talking to me just from hearing how shaky his voice got every time he spoke to me. One of the classes he started asking me about anime because he saw I had a Soul Eater lanyard for my car keys. I told him I'm not really into anime as much anymore, and this must have made him upset because the face he made looked so appalled. He then started to lecture me on how wonderful anime is, and how I should really get back into it. He even went out of his way to write me a list of animes he wants me to watch, and told me this was my homework for the night. I awkwardly said thank you for the list to him, and he just told me not to thank him now but to do it later after I've watched everything he suggested to me. The next week I had my animation class. He was in class before me this time and got super happy when he saw me walk in. The guy gets up and hugs me super tight before I could even sit in my chair. I felt super uncomfortable when he did that, and I asked him why he hugged me, to which he just said that I looked like I needed a hug because I looked really grumpy walking in. I have resting bitch face sometimes, so I generally look grumpy most of the time. I didn't see anything else and just jogged it to my computer, but the guy kept tapping on my shoulder and asked me if I had Facebook so he can add me to it. I told him no, and he then asked me if I had Kick, and like the dumbass that I am, I said yes. He then told me to add him on it, and I said sure, just give me your name and I'll do it later, but he insisted on me adding him now. I told him that I'll do it later, and the guy ends up grabbing my phone out of my hand while I was trying to text my friend, and goes to the home menu and looks for the app to add himself on my Kick. After he did that, he gave me my phone back and just said now we can discuss the animes he's having me watch. I almost wanted to yell at him for ripping the phone out of my hands, but class was about to start, and I didn't want to make a scene. The guy ends up messaging me later that day, asking me if I watched one of the animes he listed, and I told him no. I got spammed with so many messages saying how I needed to watch them now, and how I shouldn't put aside such great art and production, and how I was disgracing the creators for not watching their work. I had to tell him I was busy with schoolwork and didn't have time right now, and told him to leave me alone. He stopped messaging me for a while, till I think closer to 1 or 2 a.m., he started to message me again, but this time the messages were just creepy. He would talk about how I remind him of this one anime girl that he had a crush on, and how he made a wish on his birthday that she was a real person. Then started saying how someone of great power must have made his wish because I was the living anime angel sent to him. I pretty much told him he was delusional. He started sending me something about how his true story is starting to begin because I exist in his life now. Then how he wanted me to dress in more appropriate clothing like lolly dresses, because my boyish attire was offending him. At this point I was so tired and mad about how much he was annoying me. I put out a well-detailed message telling him he's fucking crazy, don't ever talk to me or look at me again, and if he tries to do any sort of weird shit to me in class I will notify the teacher. I didn't see him the next time I had class because I ended up getting admitted into emergency that day. I did get a message from him telling me how depressed he was that his glorious angel wasn't in class, and how I am a horrible person for leaving him behind. Even when I told him I'm recovering in the emergency room, he still gave me a bunch of stupid nonsense about breaking his heart. After that, I wasn't always in class because of how bad my condition has gotten, and I ended up blocking the guy on Kick. So the days when I came in, he would quietly insult me and tell me that I'm cheating on him, and that I'm a whore for doing it. I eventually had to go up to my teacher and tell him about all this, and from that, he had moved that guy far away from me and kept a real close eye on him. Honestly, the most annoying situation I've had to deal with from a neckbeard. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Neckbeards in the Wild, number 44. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I would also like to give a special shout out to the author of story number 4. Reddit user... Come on, be less slow, computer, load up. Anytime you like. Reddit user Van12102. Thank you very much, Van, for allowing me to use your story. And may your days be filled with yummy pizza and free of neckbeards. Okay, what day is this? This goes up on Sunday, so if I didn't do a gaming stream yesterday, I'll probably do it today. If I did do a gaming stream yesterday, There may be a recording stream later, by which I mean I chit-chat to you guys while I work. Not a guarantee, but I may do one. We'll see. Depends what mood I'm in, really. Sometimes I record privately like I did middle of the week. Never know. I'll try and give you a bit of notice before I do it, though. Okay. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.